Well, after last week's game-changing twist, this episode gives us a better look into what the show will be overall. Hey guys, Cameron, my review for. This is Season 1, Episode 2, The Big 3, and obviously I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I think all of us really were, especially after that huge reveal last week. I was just really interested in seeing what the show was going to be going forward, because they really didn't tell us. I couldn't tell if the show was getting mostly flashbacks, or was it going to give us glimpses in the present, how it really was going to be. And, like I said, I didn't really know. And to my surprise, this episode, was pretty much on par with the premiere. Was as good as the premiere? No, I don't think an episode is going to be better than the premiere for a while, just because the premiere is one of the best openings to a show I've seen in quite some time, and I really think it's going to take a while for them to actually top the premiere, but I really love what we got in this episode. I thought it was a very good overall, and I thought it just really did a great job of getting us more into the characters, getting us more into their background, and I think they're really doing a really great job of just really keeping things, not convoluted, but let's just get right into it, because I definitely do want to talk about it, and there isn't as much to talk about in this episode as there was in the last one, but just as much happened, and definitely there's a lot to talk about, but let's just get right into it. So, we start off with Rebecca getting the kids ready for, which the kids are now much older, and when I mean much older, I don't mean like teenagers, they're like, I'd say 8 or 9, something like that, but it is the 80s. I don't know exactly what decade it, I know it's the 80s, I don't know exactly what year, but I know it is sometime in the 80s, and we see Rebecca, she's getting the kids ready for school, making them breakfast, and the cereal's on the table. She tells the 3 kids to eat their food. Kate walks in to get something else to eat, but her mom stops her, saying that they talked about this, and as Kate's about to eat, their father, Jack then comes in, kisses Kate on the forehead, looks at her cereal, and says, yuck, he dumped some fruit-colored O's on top of it, and it's interesting to see that Jack and Rebecca kind of influenced Kate's decision, I think, towards her weight. We definitely do see that obviously Kate wasn't very happy with what she was doing. She very much was addicted to food, and she kind of couldn't stop eating, and she kind of did to herself. I thought that was interesting to see, but also the fact that Rebecca tried to get her to eat more, I thought was interesting. So Jack shares this special saying with his kids. We see things are a little bit more tension-filled between Jack and Rebecca. This is not the Jack and Rebecca we saw in the last episode, where everything is just very calm and cool, and that, Jack's looking at the best of things. Rebecca, they're just having a fun. They're clearly out of that, newlywed stage of marriage. They've been married, obviously, for quite some time. We definitely do see that. And, now, I don't think they were newlyweds, obviously, in the show, but they're definitely out of that stage of marriage. There just seems to be some tension between them. We don't really know what it is, but Jack is going off to work, and he shares this saying with the kids, and he basically tells them, Deeth's breaths first came, and then first came, Kevin responds, me, and then Dad said G, then came me, says Kate, and Mom said we, replies Kate. Jack continues, and then came, Randall responds me. Jack smiles and says that's 3. They all knock their chests and chant Big 3, and that is definitely one of the big parts of this episode. And that's one of the things I was most looking forward to, is getting more in the relationship of Kevin, Kate, and Randall. And they did a pretty good job of not just making this the Jack and Rebecca plot of the show. This is just as much about Kate, Kevin, and Randall when they were kids as it is about Jack and Rebecca as parents, and I think they did a very good job with that. And Rebecca smiles, but again, things just don't seem right. Once Jack is gone, Rebecca begins to harp on Kate about eating all the fruit, and we get this pretty, I think, ingenious cut to Kate in the present, very overweight. She's at the gym and everything, and I love the scene. Just right away, we really do see that she's focused on all of these skinny women who have very tight bods, and just pretty much what she aspires to be. She wants to be like these women, and we see Toby, who, I forgot to say, Toby in general is not that overweight, and I think that's definitely something that kind of makes Kate not a little bit jealous, but I think it's kind of the reason why she's with him. Like I said, he's kind of her motivation, but Kevin is as well. And the episode really focuses on, does Kate really want to actually lose this weight? Is she actually ready to do that? Toby, basically very kind of in a joking way, brings up to her that he's losing more weight because she's not taking this as seriously, and he's really not wrong. I mean, yeah, he's joking about it, but he's really not wrong when he says that to her. That is exactly what she's doing. She's not taking this seriously at all. It's clear to me that she doesn't want to lose the weight. Well, I think she does, but I think she just doesn't really want to go through everything, because it can be a scary thing losing all that weight. And I mean, especially someone who we kind of get the sense has been overweight most of her life. I think it's very sad to see, but I like that he is keeping her spirits up, and I like the bonding between Toby and Kate. There was definitely some fun stuff between them in this episode, and basically we see, you know, she's getting very serious, and I thought it was interesting that we saw that, and he cracks a joke, but getting Kate to forget about her weight is not something that's going to happen no matter how hard he tries, even though, again, he's basically telling her, you know, focus on other things, the weight's not the only thing that matters, but Kate is so fixated on this weight, and we definitely do see that, and I thought it was very interesting to see, and I thought it was a very riskily portrayed storyline. They're really portraying, you know, the storyline as someone who's overweight, but not really knowing what to do with it, as something that's not really degrading. You can understand why she feels this way. You know, she wants to obviously do something with this, but at the same time, we don't really know, you know, we don't really know if she actually knows what she needs to do to lose weight, which I thought overall was very interesting. So he's continuing to push a healthy lifestyle on a very young Kate. Basically, Kate wasn't eating very healthy. Rebecca was trying to get her to eat more healthy, and I'm assuming that this kind of got Kate to, you know, eat very excessively, and I like seeing Rebecca very concerned, because yes, every parent wants the best for their child, but at the same time, you can tell that Rebecca doesn't really know how to provide for Kate in this way. I don't think she really realized what was going on with Kate. You know, overweight, people were overweight back then, but obesity was not the issue back then that it is now, and I think definitely that's something that they touched upon pretty well here. But the other big part of this is that Kevin is also being bullied because he's brothers with Randall. We'll get more into that in a little bit, but basically, Jack is out having a drink with this guy, Miguel, who is his best friend, and I really like this scene between these two, because you can tell Jack, I mean, Jack is someone who had so much confidence and positivity in the first episode, but we kind of see that in terms of himself, he's not the most confident guy, and he kind of has a little bit of discomfort, and I think just kind of feels out of place, you know, where he is, and I think it's interesting to see, but basically, he admits, we find out that Randall is actually having a hard time. Now, this I found very interesting, but Randall is having a school, basically, being called Webster, we find out, like the TV show, you know, the one where the black kid is adopted by the family, which I've seen a couple episodes of that show. It's fine, but I don't have much to say about it. But Jack really is venting about Rebecca, and how Rebecca's this, Rebecca's that, and, basically that he feels that Rebecca's giving, you know, asking too much of him, but I like what Miguel said, that he needs to, you know, really smarten up, that Rebecca deals with a lot, and Jack, you know, so be happy he married someone who really is perfect for him, and does all this stuff for her children, and really, he, you know, has got it really good, and he needs to realize that, and I think he does realize that, but for some reason, Rebecca kind of is a villain in his sense, which I thought was interesting to see, the way that Jack, especially some of the stuff that Jack's doing. I mean, he's daydreaming at this point, and it seems like we should be against him, but the show really is getting us to root for him, and I think they did a pretty good job with that, and Miguel tells Jack that he married up and he shouldn't give Rebecca a reason to realize that, and that basically, you know, he's got it good. There's nothing wrong with Rebecca, that he's perfectly fine the way he is, and to not worry so much. And again, Miguel's kind of like the Toby in the sense where he's trying to kind of get him to focus on the bright side of things, but it's kind of hard, because Jack definitely feels like there is some tension there, and I thought that was interesting to see, but basically, you know, he says you should be happy about it, and I thought that was a very good scene. I definitely did enjoy what was going on there, but Randall is then in bed with his wife, and she says she needs to ask him something but doesn't really know how to say it, and he tells Beth that they've been together for 17 years, and censorship between them has never been an issue, so she asks how long his crack addict father, William, is going to be sleeping in their daughter's bedroom, because as we know, his whole arc last week, you know, he decided to let his father stay, and she really really just is getting a very uncomfortable vibe from him. She just doesn't really know. It's not, I don't think that she welcomes him there. I think she definitely does want him in their life. I think she just doesn't really know what to do with him. I mean, this guy has shown up out of seemingly nowhere, and she doesn't really know where to go from here. I mean, he's kind of just randomly here, and Randall and Beth haven't told their daughters the truth about his father yet, and Randall's rationalizing keeping him there because he wants to get into the doctor's office to see what's going on. Beth agrees and supports him, and you can see that Beth definitely is worrying throughout the episode, but Randall, and I thought it was interesting the way that we see Randall and Beth kind of as a parallel of Jack and Rebecca, of them definitely, you know, these two key relationships. They echo a lot of what Jack and Rebecca was going through, with her being kind of like the controlling one, and him being the positive one. We definitely do see that, and I think knowing that they're a family just adds so much to this. That's why Randall is so much like Jack, and there is so much of Jack in Randall, and we definitely do see that. So Beth agrees and supports him, and Randall tells William about the specialist appointment. He brushed it off, and basically William, we see, needs money to go to a bus stop. We don't know why he needs it, but when he took that money, I'm like, something more is really going on here, and it's not a good thing. We'll get into that, but I thought that was very interesting overall. Kevin then returns to meet with the executives about his meltdown on live television, including his manager, Lanny, and he's told he's stuck in the show for another 2 years, and not only that, basically he's told that the network owns him and that he can't do anything else besides the Manny. And basically we get this really good monologue where she saw something in him, but she knew that he wasn't really funny, and the only reason she cast him is because she saw some sort of charm in him, and now he's stuck on the show. He can't really get out of it, and there's nothing he can do about it. And even though he had that whole meltdown, he needs to still do that, do the contract, and he's going to have to go meet and beg for his job back, and he can't have any work outside of that, which really sucks. And I think they're portraying someone who is an actor that is having a midlife crisis very well in this show, because Kevin is someone who is a very experienced actor. He has worked on things pretty much all his life, but now that he doesn't really want to be doing the Manny, I think he doesn't really know what to do outside of it. You know, he doesn't really have much of a life outside of the Manny. It's kind of like the Manny is really his only thing right now that he's known for. And again, we remember that scene last week where he says, I don't want to be, you know, I want to be better than the Manny. But you really start to question in this episode, is Kevin truly better than the Manny? Which we really don't know. Kate, she helps him cope with the situation. He tells her he needs her, and basically she says that he did what he could do, that he stormed out and he needs to tell them no Manny, he will not agree to it, and tells her that she has to come to the party with him, that he can't do it without her. And again, it's very much that these two support each other, and I really do love their relationship overall. I think it's just very well done, and the way they showed Kevin and Kate in this episode, again, really depending on each other and really just being there for each other, I thought was really well done, and I really enjoyed that overall. And basically, she's telling him to just quit, you know, to walk out, tell him he doesn't want to be a part of it, and hopefully he'll get his way, and I really did like that overall. Really good scene there. But Kate attends this support group wherein she snaps on everyone, and I like that she did that, because a lot of those people there, yeah, they kind of don't really have a reason to be there. I mean, look at that woman who's just a few, you know, pounds, a few pounds overweight. She's not that overweight, but she feels that she's fat, pretty much like every girl does. Literally any girl in my school, everyone's like, oh, I'm fat, but they're so skinny. And seeing Kate and then seeing those girls, it's honestly kind of pathetic, because you really do feel so much sympathy for Kate. You get why she's going through this. You get why it's so hard for her, because she really envies these girls. She wishes that she was just a few pounds overweight. She wishes that she was just a little bit less skinny than other people. But the truth is she's not. She's very overweight, and she's very anxious, we see. You know, she's anxious about going to the party with her brother. She can't find anything to wear. She's flipping out, and basically doesn't really know, you know, she's really pissed off because this really is starting to weigh on her. The fact that she's losing this weight, it's really starting to weigh on her, and we definitely do see that. And she gets very anxious about going to the party with Kevin. She can't find anything to wear and flipping out, and Toby tells her that he's going to the party with her. He seems to be her go-to person and biggest support person next to her brother, and he's not just there to get into her pants, we see. You know, he obviously does have a reason to go with her, and I thought that was a really good scene overall. Again, I like seeing Toby supporting Kate, but we then go back to Rebecca and Jack, and basically they finally talk when he comes home, inebriated with a expensive gift for her. And basically, we get this really good scene where she tells him, you know, that he has given her this expensive gift. And I thought this was a really good scene, basically, you know, because he gets home, he's brought home this peace offering. But Rebecca talks about how it's going to take more than a piece of jewelry to solve their problems. And that really, I like what she says, that, you know, she feels like she's the only one giving her all to raising their 3 kids. You know, she feels that she's a 10 because she's always there for them, she's providing for them, she's raising 3 kids on her own, and he's not really contributing. But I like what she says here. You know, she's not there to discourage him. What she's there to do is give him some sort of confidence. And she tells him straight out, when he's home and he's actually him, meaning when he's sober, he's really, really good, and that he's way better than she is even, she thinks, which I thought was interesting. And yeah, it's true, Jack has a dynamic with those 3 kids that Rebecca just doesn't. And it's not that Rebecca's bad, it's just that Jack seems to have some sort of a connection with them, and they seem to take a liking to Jack more. And I thought they very well portrayed the idea of parenthood here, and how competitive it really can be. You really don't think about it because it seems kind of silly, but really, being parent, it seems, in this, you know, the way the show's portraying it, is kind of competitive in the sense that you strive to be the best parent possible, and you strive to give the best kind of education, the best kind of, you know, upbringing, just the best kind of everything to your kids. And even if it doesn't work out, you do whatever you can to do that. And seeing Jack, you know, in this position where he's day drinking and he feels very lost, I thought was very sad overall. And unfortunately, it doesn't get better. He actually keeps getting home later and later, and she notices that he's disappearing. It just doesn't really seem to be getting better, and I thought that was definitely sad to see. But I thought they really did handle that very well. We'll get back into that in a little bit, but basically, we then see after this that what ends up happening is William comes back with the money. He actually comes home high as a kite later the night, and it's a very sad reality, because I think Randall wants to believe that his father, you know, might actually help himself and isn't just gonna be, you know, high all the time, but that's his life. I mean, he's grown up in a very bad, you know, he's grown up kind of like in one of those like Harlan type places, and you know, he doesn't even remember leaving Randall there. He doesn't even remember it. And the fact of that, I think Randall has this, you know, picture in his mind that everything's going to go great. And we can tell very much that it's not going to. And it's very sad to see. But I thought overall, that was a very good scene. I really did like the way that was done. Again, Randall having to face this dark reality. It's really dawning on him, I think, that William definitely is a problem. And I think we're definitely seeing that here. So, basically, we see Toby and Kate decide to go to the party. He brings her on the dance floor at the party. All she sees is people laughing at her, and basically, she starts to get really upset, and Toby takes her off the dance floor, and they decide to drink again, basically just to wash her problems away, because again, she looks at everyone as someone that should ridicule her, and I don't blame her for doing that. I mean, fat people in general, you know, there are a lot of fat jokes out there, and a lot of people do ridicule them, and am I saying that's right? No, but that's kind of just the way we live, and she sees everyone as someone that sees her as a pathetic individual, and someone who sees her as someone who can't provide for themselves, and someone who doesn't want to help themselves, when in reality, that's not the truth. She wants to lose this weight, but she just doesn't really know how to. She doesn't know if she wants to commit. She doesn't really know, you know, what goes into it all, and she doesn't really know if she's ready to make that major of a change in her life. But I did really enjoy the scene of those two dancing and her actually being drunk, because just for a second, Kate can actually seem like she's having fun. It seems like she's actually enjoying the night, and she's enjoying Toby overall, so it seems to be going overall pretty well. Kevin then meets with the network boss, who's played by Brad Garrett in probably the most unrecognizable role I've seen of him. His voice did not sound like he usually does. I don't know if Brad Garrett's just getting older, but he really sounded different here. And he basically tells him he will not allow him to quit the show. He threatens to ruin him if he doesn't keep the contract, and Kevin tries to talk to Kate. She's too drunk, busy dancing to help him, and Kevin ends up walking away. And it's very sad to see, because, again, Kevin just wants something. You know, he wants some sort of confirmation that he can still work. And he has this incredible moment of clarity where he remembers when they were kids and how he would always abandon Randall and just let Randall be bullied, but he takes the chance and basically realizes this is the moment where he might be able to turn his life around. This doesn't have to be the end for him. He can actually turn things around, and he makes the decision to actually call Randall, and I thought this scene was incredible. I love the way this was done. Basically, he talks about everything. He admits that he was a horrible brother. Randall says that he still has time to change that. And basically, Randall, we don't know if, we can tell that these two haven't spoken in a while. Obviously, they didn't really have that great of a relationship. And the things that Kevin did to Randall, I mean, yeah, they were just downright mean. But again, those were the conditions at the time. Kevin, really felt, you can tell why that is such a big significance to him, and that's why I think that the whole, thing that the whole spaceship thing, I think that's why he's so focused on, because I think there was definitely something that happened the night between him and Randall, and we just don't know what that is yet, but I'm sure we'll find out, and, basically, we end up seeing that he admits that he was a horrible brother. Randall says that he actually has time to change that, and that he is in fact willing to open up to him. And Kevin tells Randall that he has to go back and be the whore who he is to get his job back. And I thought that was a very well done scene. Randall ends up giving him advice, and Kate is drunk beside him. They share their precious chant that they shared as kids with their dad. And the call ends with Randall telling Kevin that mom and dad didn't raise no whores. They share a fond goodnight and hang up. And it's just a really powerful scene. I really did love the way that was done. And basically sets up that Randall is there for Kevin. Kevin definitely, I think, is a little bit jealous of Randall, because Randall has everything that Kevin wants. He has a loving wife. He has, he's made a life for himself. He lives in probably the best house possible. He has a car, he has, pets. He has pretty much everything the ideal 36-year-old would want in their life. But, of course, his life isn't perfect. He has this, he has his birth father who is constantly doing drugs and is just on the verge of dying, and I think it just shows that nothing really is perfect, and I really do like seeing that. But I do like Kevin realizing that he can turn things around and that this doesn't have to be the end for him, because Toby and Kate is having this very candid conversation about her weight. She admits that it will always be an issue for her even since she was little, and Toby encourages her, makes her laugh, still wants to be with her, and basically they agree to kind of make it official. She talks about how this has always been something that she's gone through, and how she doesn't really know if she's going to be able to change her weight, but she's going to do whatever she can to do that. And Toby, again, he's going to be that one to support her, and I really did love it overall. I thought that was a very well done scene, and I like seeing Kate, she's no longer drunk. She confessed to Toby that it's always going to be about the weight for her. It invades every aspect of her life, and she just can't change what she feels in her core, and it's a very honest one, because yeah, I mean, that is what plagues Kate. I mean, anything happy in her life, she can't enjoy because she feels just a bit overweight. And you have to put yourself in her situation. And it's just kind of a scary situation to think about. The fact that everyone seems better than you. Everyone seems like they're more comfortable in their own skin. She's not. She loved to change who she is. And I think, again, seeing the side of Kate, her opening up, I'm looking forward to seeing where this is really going to go. And I think from here, hopefully that she'll be able to turn things around. I definitely think that she'll be able to turn things around from here, and I'm looking forward to seeing, where this is going to go. So, because then we get the scene with Kevin where he finds them. He tells them that he not only did stand up for himself, but he's actually planning on packing up and moving to New York, and I have no idea how this is going to work, because Kevin said last week that he can't sing, but I guess that he'll try to do plays, and he's not going to let anything stop him. And it's just that moment where Kevin's saying, this doesn't have to be the end for me. I have other options. And Kate is shocked, but obviously very happy that he's actually doing something, that is not just dwelling on this, while she is. And I think even that she's a little bit jealous of. That fact that he's actually willing to put himself out there. The fact that he already kind of is making a life for himself, and he's not just going to say no. She, in fact, is a much different issue that she doesn't really know how she wants to face, and I think it's going to be interesting to see where that ends up going, and especially with him off to New York, the question is he actually going to do well? We'll have to see. So, basically, we see Beth, like I said, as the episode's going on, she's getting more and more suspicious of William, just the way he's acting. It seems like he's just doing drugs and that he's just a mess, and she decides to talk to William on her own, because she knows that Randall's not going to do it. He's just not going to kick his father out. She asks him if he's really sick, and I had this feeling that William was not sick, just the way he was acting. I thought that he was just trying to give an excuse to get back into his son's life, because he wants to be in his son's life. I mean, we've seen that William is very regretful of things he did, and she wants William to know that Randall's not free of them. That he does have vices, and he has a compulsive drive to do good, and believe in the good in people, and she comes right out and says that he is in fact overstaying his welcome, but Randall interrupts Beth before she can go any further, and William finally spills him why he's out of the house all day, and I have to say, this is a very clever twist that, again, I didn't see coming, but I thought was really well done. I really do love what they end up saying here. Apparently, it's not that he's out doing drugs, which is what I thought he was doing. I thought that he was just finding a way to get money for things, you know, for himself, and then we just see him deteriorate. But instead, he actually has this cat that he needs to feed, and basically, you know, he's out of the house all day, and you know, this cat's there. He needs to provide for this cat, and even though he's got everything he could ever want, he can't abandon the cat. He's already abandoned Randall, and abandoning the cat would feel like a sin, and he needs to do whatever he can. He feels like that is the last thing he needs to do before he dies, and we definitely get the sense that he is dying, because it's probably the #1 thing on his bucket list is to, you know, do something. He travels every 3 hours every day to feed his cat, and the only thing he has left, and basically Beth says that she feels like a bitch. They all laugh, and I really like seeing that. I like seeing that it's not that he's dying. I mean, I like seeing that he is in fact dying. I like that we find out that he's not on drugs, that it is in fact that he's feeding his cat, because him being on drugs, I think, would have been a very predictable twist, and I like they went in this direction instead, because I just think it's a lot more interesting, and it makes a lot more sense of what the show is trying to do. This is supposed to be a show of, you know, trying to be an uplifting, poignant show about, you know, adjusting to things, and I think they definitely did a very good job with that here. So then we get this great scene with Jack and Rebecca, which Manny, Moore, and Milo, and Miguel both just killed it in this scene. Basically, we see he keeps getting home later and later. She notices that he's disappearing, and she tells him that the drinking has to stop. She doesn't know how, but she wants it to stop. And she doesn't just tell him, she demands that he fix his problems right now. And if he doesn't, she will, in fact, leave him and take their kids. But those obviously isn't what she said. We can tell she's thinking that, and I think that's something that's really great in the scene, is it's what Rebecca doesn't say. Rebecca's ready to leave Jack. You definitely see that. I mean, Jack's out of the house almost all the time. She feels like she's losing touch with him, and she feels like he's kind of indifferent to her. And Jack, we find out, sleeps outside the bathroom door that night. He refused to sleep on the couch because he doesn't want to be far from Rebecca. And he says that he can stop drinking. He says for her he will. He missed it when he first met her. He knew he wanted to be the man to make her happy. He agrees to be the best father he can be, and even better husband. All she's ever wanted is for him to be the man that she knows he can be. And we kind of get the sense in this scene that he didn't have the best childhood, because he talks about how before he met her, he didn't know what he wanted to be, but then he realized he wanted to be the man that made her happy. And this is just the perfect example of true love. I mean, even in the, you know, the darkest of times, when Jack is drinking and she has to provide for the 3 kids all on her own, he still loves her, and they both still love each other, and that's one thing that is definitely for sure here. He gives her this crescent moon necklace, and she promises she'll never take it off, and we see that it seems like they're about to have sex, but their kids come running out of the room, so it's just this great scene of us realizing that they can, in fact, repair the relationship, and I really did like seeing that overall. And again, that very much echoes what's going on with Kevin and Randall, with Kevin saying, all right, maybe I can do this, maybe I can turn things around. He has that can-do attitude that Jack has, and I thought that was a very well-done scene. Then we get to the ending of this episode, which the ending of this episode was very interesting. We see basically everything settled in Randall's house. Basically, we see that Grandma and Grandpa arrive now that everything's okay with William. We see Grandma and Grandpa arrive, but it's definitely not who we were expecting. Yes, Rebecca's there, but she's actually not married to Jack. He says, hey, Mom, and Miguel. Yes, Rebecca somehow ended up with Miguel, and that is the way the episode ends. But let's get into this episode overall, because I definitely do have a lot to say on this episode, and also just what's going on overall. So, yes, this is a pretty big twist, but I think just like the one last week, it definitely does make sense why she'd end up with someone like Miguel. Miguel appreciates Rebecca. Miguel sees Rebecca, you know, as a very hardworking woman, and I see it this way. I think that Jack did, in fact, try not to keep drinking, but I feel like there's a part of me that thinks that maybe it didn't work. I mean, when you're that much of an alcoholic and you're drinking as much as Jack does, and you come home and you can't even remember coming home, and you're coming home later and later, to me, it just seemed like Jack is going to deteriorate, and I think he's going to try to turn himself around, but there's only so much he can do, and we definitely do get that sense here. I mean, it's not always going to work out in the way that you want it to, and that's something the show gets done very well, is that sometimes the darkest futures are inevitable, and there's not much you can do to change that, such as Randall's father dying, or Kevin not being able to work, or Kate having to face that she is obese. Jack, we don't know if he actually was able to fix his drinking problem. I think it's something they're definitely going to talk about in the course of the next few episodes. I don't really know where the timeline's going to go, if we're going to stay in the 80s or if we're going to shift to a different time period, but I do like the way the show is really touching upon the relationship. I think that they're handling that very well, and I'm really enjoying that overall. As far as Kevin, how is he going to be in New York? I mean, Kevin thinks that New York, this is the place for him, that this is the place where he's going to start over and find new work, and that being a stage actor is where it's at, but is it really going to work out for him? Is he going to be able to work? I mean, Lonnie literally said to him that he would not be able to work, so I don't know if this is really going to work for him, but we'll have to see. Again, Randall really gave him this confidence, and I like seeing that scene between Randall, Kate, and Kevin, just seeing that these are three siblings that know they didn't treat each other in the best way, a lot of it obviously being typical, sibling stuff, but really for Kevin and Randall, there was definitely a lot of a big feud going on between those two, and I'm really looking forward into getting more of that. I really would like to see more of that, and I'm sure we will, but right now, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that's going to go, and I like that Kevin is realizing that he can, in fact, turn things around with Randall. This doesn't be the end, and I really did love it overall. Kate, I like that Kate is, in fact, moving forward. She, it seems, is actually going to try to lose this weight. I know that Toby, obviously, is making her focus on other things, but it seems like Kate is realizing, hey, if my brother can go into theater acting, I can, in fact, lose my weight, and I think that's really going to be her motivation all season, is her relation with her brother, what her brother's able to do, and what she's able to do, and they're in very similar circumstances. They're both having a midlife crisis for different reasons, but they're both definitely struggling with things that they want to struggle with, that they've been struggling with their entire life. Kevin with his work, Kate with their weight, and I think they're definitely going to overcome both of those things together, and I really do like that overall. And then I really did love the scene with William. William's dying, but I like that he is, in fact, not a druggie. I thought that was just a very well done scene overall, and I like seeing that Randall actually did accept him into his life, and what I like with the show in general is that it hasn't gotten too dark yet. It's only the second episode, and yes, it's gotten us into some dark territory, and yes, it's very realistic, and it's just very much like life. A lot of what we saw with Jack and Rebecca, you would think, oh, this would be a couple that would separate, but again, they just love each other that much that they can't separate, and I thought they did that very well here. Again, I don't really know where the show is going in the next episode, I'm going to say that, but I like that. I like that uncertainty. I like that we don't really know where we're going to go from here, because the Kate and Kevin dynamic, if Kate's in Kevin's in LA, I don't really know how I guess it's going to be through phone calls and things like that, but we'll have to see. But overall, guys, I really am loving this show. As you guys know, this is probably the best new fall show by far. I don't think there's going to be many ones that top this, except for Westworld. That could be the only one. Quarry's pretty good too, but this is really, and for the network ones, this really is a fantastic show. I'm really loving it so far, and I can't wait to see where this is going to go, next week, and where it goes as the season goes on. And really this episode in general just really gave us, I think, a better, just basically gave us a better view of what the season's going to be. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. What do you think of the show overall? Love to hear your thoughts on it. And we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of American Horror Story. And we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.